it's Jeff Zito. Thanks again for checking out another episode of the Celebrity Jobber Podcast, which, by the way, is one of the top podcasts on the Apple Podcast Music Interviews chart. Past episodes and guests are online at celebrityjobber.com and streaming on all platforms you listen to podcasts, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart. Please subscribe. Would love a 5-star rating and leave a review. So I grew up in New Jersey, and on my 6th birthday, I had a magician perform at my birthday party. I will never forget this day for a few different reasons. My sister got in trouble that day. So on my birthday, she didn't come home. My dad was really pissed off, and I remember the party just about to get started, and then my sister, I remember, got dropped off at home and is walking up the driveway very, very slowly. It's something I'll never, ever forget. So this is the day of my 6th birthday party. There's a magician performing, and I don't know if I have a fear of magicians. They're weird, you know what I mean? They've got like a weird look about them, very mysterious. I'm sure that's part of the gig. So I guess I kind of always had a weird thing about magicians. My guest today, one of the world's greatest magicians. We'll find out a little bit about him before he became famous. You know, what his big break was, how it all happened, and some of his earlier jobs before he became the world's greatest magician. And his first job, the one and only David Blaine, is my guest this week on Celebrity Jobber.
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, give a 5-star rating, and leave a review. Check out all our past episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you pod. What if these celebrities weren't famous? What would they have become? What was their first job? We're about to find out.
Hi, David.
Hey, how you doing? How's it going?
Hey, man. Doing pretty good. Nice to meet you. You know, you're not as... how do I put this politely? You're not as scary over the phone as you are in person. I don't know. You got this vibe about you that's very mysterious. Do you do that on purpose?
Well, I think if you watch this new series, you'll disagree with that whole theory, because in this series, I'm running away, laughing, screaming, and they're doing the magic to me, and that's. Lots of my friends that see this, they're like, they like this side.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Okay. So I want to talk to you. There's a new series on National Geographic that David is involved in. Also, by the way, I just wanted to mention the Las Vegas residency. Where is the residency right now, David?
It's at the Encore Theater at the Wynn in Las Vegas, and it's a show that's a combination of all the things that I love. It's got things that are real. It has magic. It has card tricks. It has crazy stunts. It's all of it connected into one night, but physically it's so demanding that I can only do it a few times a month. So if you are there and you have a chance to come, please do.
Yes, I will. And so let me ask, all the way back, okay? You're born in New York, raised in New Jersey. Your mom was a teacher. I mean, this seems to be like a regular upbringing. Mom, single parent, mom raised you. Well, how did you get involved in this whole thing? How'd you get involved in magic?
Well, my mother was also very supportive of anything that I would do, and her reactions to the simplest card tricks made me want to learn more, because even if she had a tough day at work, I would do a card trick to her, a very simple, basic trick, and she'd run away screaming like it was the greatest thing ever. My love of magic began because I loved how cards felt in my hands, and when you think about a deck of cards, it has so many possibilities, and the amount of tricks you can learn are unlimited. There's 52 cards in the deck, there's 52 weeks in a year, there's 4 suits, like there's 4 seasons, there's 364 pips plus a joker, which is 1, 365 if you counted aces, 1, 2 is 2, jack 11. So there's so many things built into cards, and that started my love of math, numbers, logic, performing, then science, then I found Harry Houdini.
Okay.
And when I found Houdini, I saw dangling off of the edge of a building, who used to do card tricks and was also calling himself the king of cards. But then I saw him doing these other things that were death-defying feats. And I obsessed over this guy, and I dreamed about this guy. And then he wrote a book called Miracle Mongers and Their Methods. and he writes about the types of people that I'm searching the world for in this series. So he finds these people like the human aquarium, a guy that could convert his stomach into an aquarium where frogs and fish could live for hours, and then he brings them up, pours them into a glass from his mouth, and gives them to kids. These were kind of like my superhero figures, you know? So I kind of always obsessed over these people and started to, on my own, try to learn other things that would combine real with magic. And that was the beginning. That was kind of the beginning of that whole sort of love and quest for everything in this realm of what can the body physically do. So I wasn't really learning the big illusions. We didn't have resources like that at all. So I had a deck of cards, and we would go to Coney Island, and I'd see the guys doing the sword song, and I'd see the guys doing the rope tricks, and I would see the cups and ball guys. And so I would watch all these things, and I think I absorbed and started to learn, and then spent my life still studying, learning, and trying to always continue with that art.
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito. The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito.
And David Blaine, Do Not Attempt, is on National Geographic. Is it Monday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, David? Is that correct? And it's also streams the next day on Disney Plus and Hulu.
Yeah, it aired last night on National Geographic, and it's available on Disney Plus and Hulu. And we're releasing 2 episodes at a time. It's a 6-part series. I'm traveling the world, meeting these fascinating people that I only read about as a kid type people, these incredible skills, and they're giving me a crash course into their world. But it's a travel show, so we're getting into these places that very few people get to go, and we're getting this glimpse into these skills that have been passed down for generations or developed on their own or just, you know, through pain and suffering and thousands of hours, where to me it looks like magic because the work is invisible. You can't see it. You just see the byproduct of what they're doing, which seems like nobody could, would, or should do it.
David, what was your very first job, the very first thing you got paid for? Before all of this happened, did you have a regular job?
I was 10 years old, I would fold newspapers. When I was 11 years old, I would work as a busboy in a diner while my mom was a waitress. And then when I was about 13 years old, I went to a diner in New Jersey, and I was a busboy there. And then I started waiting tables, and then I would go to buildings that burnt down, and I'd have to scrub all the black ash. I was like 16 off of the roof and off of the entire building. And I remember I would sneeze for like weeks later, and black soot would come out of my nose. So yeah, I've done lots of jobs. And I think learning from all these jobs was super valuable as a magician, especially when I was a waiter, because I would also do magic to the people. So while I was waiting tables, I was like 17, 16. You know, I would learn that if you stand too close to somebody and try to do magic, it's uncomfortable, so you lose their interest. If you're too far away, they don't want you to do magic to them. So there's like a balance point, but really you learn how to captivate people quickly. So I think my biggest learning curve actually was waiting tables and doing magic to the people in between bringing them food.
That's really cool.
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito. Celebrity Jobber.
In between all of this, something had to happen. There had to be like a moment that things all changed for you. Can you tell me about your big, if I don't want to call it a big break, maybe it was gradual. You became famous and known for doing your street magic, your shows. But was there a particular thing that happened to you that changed your life forever?
I think what happened was it was really subtle, actually. I was walking through Times Square practicing a one-handed shuffle, and I wasn't really a performer at that point. I was like 17, and I was doing a one-handed shuffle, and these guys working at a parking garage saw me doing the shuffle, and they all came over. They all ran over. They were like, dude, how did you get there? And I did it, and then I started doing magic to them, and they ran away screaming, and at that moment, I had the idea that, oh, wait, I can show with magic that this these people's reactions and that all people are the same and highlight the best part of people through magic. And it was a different idea for me than what I was normally watching. When I would see magic on TV, it was like the world's greatest magicians, and it was all about the magician. So instead, I decided, I wrote this mission statement on a cocktail napkin that said, I'm going to travel around the country. I'm going to show people from all different places, backgrounds, walks of life, religions, ages, and I'm going to show that they're all the same, or highlight the best in people using magic. And because I had that napkin, it was like a slow process, but because the mission statement was so strong, I kept driving towards making that show happen. So the first show was called Street Magic, and it was the one that I was probably most proud of. But it wasn't a fast, like you said, it wasn't like a moment. It was kind of like a slow process and kind of like a passion driving the idea of showing what I love about the reactions to magic and the part of it that most people don't get to see that often.
David, what is it about like going into the inner city? I think you're speaking of that one episode or that one special that you did when you went to a bunch of different cities. One of them was Compton. What is it about the inner city that I love so much? Because the reaction, like they are mesmerized. Whenever I see you going really deep into the heart of the inner city somewhere, it's the reactions are my favorite. What do you think it is?
Well, what we would do is so in order to get those reactions, it was 2 years of shooting for a 1 hour episode of 44 minutes. And I would just drive around with a camera guy, a sound guy, a producer, and a couple of assistants. And we would drive in a tinted window van and we'd drive into these places. And for example, the Compton scene that you're talking about, when I jumped out of the car with the camera crew, they assumed that it was like news and something bad or feds or whatever. So they're all running away. And I'm chasing them. I'm like, wait, look. And then I capture them and I start doing magic, and some are skeptical, some are into it. And then it was amazing to see the transformation, and everybody in my crew was suddenly so happy, and they had the best day ever, and everybody there was screaming and laughing and running. So that was kind of what we were searching for across the board, but it was lots of running out and being rejected and nobody wanting to see anything. I'm saying like 2 years worth of that.
Unbelievable. It's one of my favorite things to see. It's so fun. The reactions are so fun.
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito. Celebrity Jobber.
You've been doing this for such a long time, you probably haven't thought of this, but have you ever thought about, like, because it's tough, show business, it's tough, man. I mean, you're doing a residency in Las Vegas at the Encore at the Wynn. You've got these shows and people pay a lot of money to watch you perform. You ever think what you might be doing if this didn't happen for you? Did you have any other interests or study anything else at the time before you made this mission statement on this napkin?
I mean, since I was 5, I wanted to be a magician. And my mother was like, that's amazing. So I always wanted to be a magician. I always loved doing magic. I'd probably be doing magic still, but doing something else to pay the bills. But magic was what drove me from the beginning.
Yeah, it's a great story. And like I said, I'm really looking forward to seeing this because you are so mysterious. And I always, and you look at the camera and you get these people, I'm like, oh my God, this guy, he scares me. But I'm really looking forward to seeing the other side of you in this new special. National Geographic debuted last night. David Blaine, Do Not Attempt. What's going to surprise us all about this?
No, I think when you watch the series, you're going to be the opposite of what you think. You're going to be like, oh, wow, he's really just funny and goofy. It's like the opposite of the serious. So normally when I'm doing magic, I'm trying to be kind of like stoic and like non-reactive, so you let the audience react. But this is the opposite. This is me running away, screaming, crying, laughing. It's a pretty intense and amazing series that I've got to meet the most, like I said, the most fascinating people that have pushed themselves continuously to the breaking point. Sometimes we even show a bit of that. And, they're all to me magicians beyond, because what they're doing is real, but what they're doing is all the work that goes in is invisible. And therefore you don't know. It's like, how is that possible? So it's been an incredible journey.
David Blaine, real pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much. Don't forget, it's 2 episodes on Sunday. National Geographic streams the next day on Disney Plus and Hulu. David Blaine, Do Not Attempt. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me.
Pretty cool guy. Weird, though, magicians, aren't they? They're strange. I think it comes down to the time that I was a little kid, my 6th birthday. I had a magician, and I'll never forget that performance and how it kind of weirded me out a little bit. David Blaine seemed to be obsessed with, the oddities, the sword swallower and Harry Houdini, the escape artist, and the cards and all that. They kind of just all go together. It was his love of cards. He loved cards, loved card tricks. He loved math, science, and then discovered Harry Houdini, who also started off with the cards and all that stuff before he became like an escape artist. So became absolutely obsessed with Harry Houdini, pretty much how it all started. He talked about performing for his mother, who's a big inspiration for David, single mother growing up. I think his father was a Vietnam vet and not part of his life growing up as much as his mother, who raised him, New York and New Jersey. And he would do these simple card tricks for mom, and her reaction got him. He fed off of her reaction, and she was very supportive. So this is kind of how it all began for David at a very early age. And he said that, it wasn't like an overnight success, like not like a big break, but he's been around and in the mix for a long time. So the big break that he kind of gave me was he's walking in New York City and he's doing a one-handed shuffle, and somebody noticed him doing it, and then he started performing for those people, and the reaction, they were amazed, and it was like at that particular moment, the light switch went on, and David Blaine, who had a vision board, which I'm a big believer in that, just get a piece of paper, a poster board, whatever, a dry erase board, and write your goals and say, like, on this day, in 5 years, I'm going to be, doing this or making this much money or whatever it is. I really believe in the vision board. And he was like, he made this vision board and said, I'm going to travel the country and I'm going to do this stuff in front of people. And he did. I really like the fact about David talking about his first jobs and, being a paper boy, working in a restaurant as a busboy, a waiter. He also said he used to clean burning buildings or buildings that burnt down, and he would cough up soot for the following week or so. That sounds like kind of dangerous or not healthy. Regardless, he talked about how all of those jobs kind of, taught him something. And, I should have asked him about David Copperfield. He was like one of the biggest magicians / illusionists. And he was from New Jersey, a town close by to where I grew up. And his parents had like a store called Kirby's. It was like a men's clothing store nearby. So I should have asked him if David Copperfield was a big influence for him. So David Blaine, do not attempt Sunday nights on the National Geographic Channel. And thank you for checking out another episode of the Celebrity Jobber Podcast, streaming everywhere, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, wherever you listen to podcasts. Please subscribe, would love a 5-star rating, and leave a review. Past episodes and guests online at celebrityjobber.com. Plus, you can follow on Instagram, celebrity_jobber_podcast, and youtube.com/the@celebrityjobber. Again, thank you so much for checking out another episode of the Celebrity Jobber Podcast. Until next week, I'll see you then. I'm Jeff Zito.